Welcome back to River City Live. A lot of you are familiar with the St. Augustine Distillery and their delicious adult beverages, but what do you know about the making of those beverages, specifically the bourbon? Rance Adams paid a visit and found out why they are so set on using local flavors they make that here.
You have to love having a distillery in your backyard. St. Augustine Distillery hasn't even been open 2 years, yet they already have a reputation for creating quality.
The 4 food groups: whiskey, rum, gin, and vodka.
Yep, the 4 basic food groups. But like anything that is grown, each group has its own time frame from creation to distillation.
Gin and vodka are pretty quick. Rum and whiskey take longer. We actually age them in barrel. That process can range anywhere from, in rum, for a month to 90 days in barrel, all the way to, some rums are aged 20 years. Bourbon is typically aged for at least 2 years. We chose to make the investment and do it right and put the spirit down for longer, so that way it was more mature when it came to bottle.
My maturity has always been questioned, so let's focus on bourbon. It has a nickname.
Bourbon is America's whiskey. It can only be made in America. It can be made in any state in the United States. It has to be 51% corn, distilled in specific ways and barreled at certain specific fruits and put into new white oak.
America. But I thought bourbon was made in Kentucky.
Kentucky is famous for making bourbon, but a lot of bourbon is actually made in Indiana and Tennessee and now all over the United States. We're trying not to make Kentucky bourbon here, though. We're not trying to make bourbon in any style but the Florida style.
Florida style. Go ahead and rap for us, Brendan. What exactly does Florida style mean?
We're not interested in trying to make whiskey like they make it in Kentucky. We're interested in making Florida whiskey. Not whiskey in Florida, but Florida whiskey, Florida bourbon, Florida rum. And we want the influence of this area and region, the weather, the types of regional grains that are grown here to influence and have their fingerprint in what we're making.
So how is bourbon made?
When you make whiskey, and bourbon is a whiskey, you grind up grains, and then you pretty much make the biggest bowl of grits you ever seen.
That's way above my mental. Speaking of that in maturity, I thought that the older bourbon is aged, the better. Brendan says that's not necessarily the truth.
Age is not synonymous with maturity. I think we see that in many things, including humans. Personally, I actually like bourbons that are in the 6 to 8 year range, and the industry as a whole typically ages around that.
If you've never tried bourbon or had a bad experience, Brendan has suggestions for newbies.
People that are maybe new to drinking bourbon, I recommend maybe adding a little water or soda water. That can add that dilution, just to make it much more approachable.
Well, I'm inspired. I know what I'll be sampling very soon. I'm Rance Adams, reporting for River City Live. Now, that was just a little short tour I took, but if you guys want to go, it's open to the public Monday through Friday, or all week, 7 days a week, 10 to 5. Their tours are going 30 minutes, every 30 minutes, so you can get a better insight on how the local flavors are being incorporated into the local spirits at St. Augustine Distillery. And from that tour here to Unity Plaza, let's make some
to a little local tour right here. Please welcome Anthony. And you're going to show us how we can make a cocktail from ingredients that we have at home, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
So this comes in handy, because if we're sitting around, we're watching a football game, and we only have a couple ingredients, we're like, what can we do? We're going to get creative.
Yeah. We're not that good, so please, enlighten us.
Yeah, for sure. So we're going to be using maple syrup as a sweetener and honey syrup as a sweetener, rather than just using white granulated sugar. So the first one we're going to be making is a Rum Old-Fashioned.
Okay.
We're going to be using the maple syrup for that. So we're going to start with a little bit of some orange oil, actually. So just take a little orange peel. We're going to just spritz that in the bottom of the glass there.
So an orange, that's something that I have at home. How about you, Rance?
Sure.
Okay, good.
This one you may or may not. That's it. Yeah, it's got a little orange oil. Smell that?
Okay.
Smells nice. That's all we're looking for, is just the nose there. A little bit of bitters, about 4 or 5 dashes of that. You might not have that laying around.
Bitters, I don't.
But then, yeah, maple syrup here. So we're just going to be doing a 1/2 ounce of maple syrup. as our sweetener. Typically for an old-fashioned, you just use regular simple syrup.
Okay.
But we're using, we do have some large format ice, good for any kind of spirit-forward cocktail. So the next thing is what we're going to be doing is just 2 ounces of rum. So 4 dashes of bitters, half an ounce of maple syrup, and then just 2 ounces of rum. Normally you would use bourbon. You could also use maple syrup if you're going to be using bourbon as well. Those kind of like butterscotch and nutty notes go really, really well. So
it kind of seems like, too, this is more of a wintry type drink.
yeah, definitely.
Based on the ingredients that you have in there.
And like I said, typically with bourbon, but with our rum, it works really great. So either of you can have that.
Rance, go ahead. You have the honors.
And your bourbon is going to come out fall 2016, right?
Fall of this year. Yeah, exactly. And we're not exactly sure when in the fall, but the fall is what we're shooting for.
Perfect. And then do you have another cocktail coming up, too?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, instead of simple syrup, we're going to be using honey syrup. In this cocktail, we're going to be using the distillery's gin. So we're going to be doing 2 ounces of this. This is actually going to be a shaken cocktail. So we're going to be building everything in what we call our Boston shaker here. So 2 ounces of that. Our sweet is going to be the honey syrup. The honey syrup is not just straight honey. You see it kind of pours nice and thin. So this is equal parts honey and water.
Okay.
So that way it mixes really nice and easy. And then there's some fresh lemon juice. So
These are so simple.
super simple.
There's like a couple ingredients in them, but
That's it.
they look great.
And then we're going to shake this guy up. Anything with citrus you want to shake, you want to kind of help aerate the entire cocktail here. So this will be going straight onto here. And just give it a good shake.
Gotta get the body in the back into it.
And that's it. So this actually is called the Bee's Knees cocktail. This is kind of a super old school cocktail, but really, really delicious. Fine strain
Now, Rance,
this.
do you have like any glasses like this at home or no?
I actually do have
Do
some
you
of
really?
those glasses. Yes.
I don't have this one. I have one of those, though.
And then to finish it off, just a little bit of lemon oil, just kind of the same thing we did with the orange there.
It's a nice little touch to it.
Express that right on top there, a little bit around here. And
I
this,
like the expression.
Yes. Next time I come over, please do this,
We
right?
will express ourselves.
You got Bee's Knees and old-fashioned.
Try it out.
Cheers, guys. Super simple, easy to make at home, stuff you got laying around the house. So
So you guys we need to check out their website, StAugustinedistillery.com. Can we find some of these recipes?
there are some recipes posted online. I think you might have some posted here too. But we've got a bunch of different kinds of recipes as well. So not just these, but a bunch of good
Perfect.
fun ones on the website. Yeah.
Well, thanks, Anthony. It's
Yeah,
always great to
absolutely.
have you on.
My day's done.
We'll have more after this.
Cheers.